At the autumn banquet, Madame Song teased her own child for still wetting the bed at 8 years old. I took it to heart. Before departing, he took off the red string from his hair and stuffed it into the hands of the young master of the Song family. Tie this around your birdie tightly at night, and you won't wet the bed anymore. The next day, the whole city was abuzz with laughter. Rumors spread that the young master of the Song family had a secret ailment and had summoned physicians all night in urgency. Later, General Song returned to the capital in triumph. The new emperor bestowed a marriage upon him. On their wedding night, the red string I had given him years ago still adorned his wrist. His eyes dark and unreadable. My lady, the debt you owed me for teaching me how to tie knots back then. It's time to repay it now. Me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. My son isn't as sensible as your little girl. He still wets the bed at his age. Mother brought me to visit Madame Song. Amidst the banter, Madame Song revealed Song Yun's embarrassing incident. With her delicate hand, she lightly pointed at the chubby child hiding behind the corridor pillar. The other day, the wet nurse spun 3 brocade quilts, but Yun insisted it was the rain beating on the banana leaves that had soaked the bedding. At 8 years old, Song Yun was like a plump little dumpling, squatting to the side with misty eyes. Before leaving, my 8-year-old self couldn't bear it and quietly tugged at his sleeve embroidered with auspicious clouds, pulling him aside. Those adults were just joking. Don't take it to heart. With that, I pulled off the red ribbon from my head. Still carrying the sweet fragrance of osmanthus hair oil, I stuffed it all into his soft, pudgy little hands. Song Yun, don't be afraid. From now on, tie up your little birdie with this before bed every night. Then you won't wet the bed anymore. In the distance, I heard Mother calling for me. He looked at me and nodded with a somewhat understanding expression, his eyes twinkling like stars. Afraid he might not fully grasp it, I deliberately wrapped the red string around his wrist several times. Just like this. Song Yun gave me a sweet smile. His 2 front teeth still crooked and uneven, just like the chubby baby holding a carp in the New Year painting. So adorable. I stood on tiptoe and kissed his cheek, which still carried a faint milky scent. The tips of his ears instantly turned red enough to drip blood. Song Yun shyly lowered her head and softly asked, "Will you come again tomorrow?" Of course. But in the end, I still couldn't make it. The next day, during dinner, Father came home from court with a stern face. That Song family is truly bizarre. Just yesterday, General Song was drinking and chatting merrily with me, but today he wouldn't even look me in the eye. Mother kept trying to soothe Father's anger. Who would disagree with that? The Song family called several physicians overnight. They said the young Master Song had found a red string from somewhere and tied it around his thing. By the time the physicians arrived, it had already turned purple. Father looked incredulous. There's such a thing. How could it be fake? The whole capital is buzzing about it. Oh dear, can it still be used after this? Father showed an expression of shared sympathy. Mother kept sighing beside me. Who knows? That Song family has a legacy of military achievements. So how come their son Song Yun turned out to be such a sissy? Obsessed with feminine crafts like playing with red strings. Speaking of red strings. Wait, yeah. Where's the one you used to wear in your hair? I swallowed hard and guiltily finished the osmanthus wine in my bowl. You little mud monkey. Always losing this and forgetting that. It's high time you learned some proper manners. I stuck my tongue out at Mother and scampered away. From that day on, I kept a constant watch on the front gate, terrified that Magistrate Song and his wife might come demanding an explanation with their son Song Yun in tow. Fortunately, Song Yun was loyal enough. He kept his mouth shut and didn't rat me out. Within half a month, He returned to school, though he sat in a small corner. Not a word was spoken. I watched him standing alone, feeling somewhat guilty, so I deliberately brought him some osmanthus cake. Song Yun, are you feeling better now? Bringing up a sore subject. Song Yun's face instantly turned pale, his eyes slightly reddening, as if I were some kind of utterly wicked villain. Father always says one should be broad-minded, so I won't stoop to his level. Seeing his pitiful appearance actually made me feel a pang of sympathy. I moved closer and tugged at his sleeve. Does it hurt a lot? She asked cautiously. Yeah. He nodded. Let me blow on it for you. No. Before the word use could even leave my lips, I had already yanked his pants down in one swift motion. My mom says blowing on it makes the pain go away. Song Yun stood frozen in place, his face alternating between shades of pale and ashen, filled with a faint sense of doom. There, little Xiao Song was wrapped in a layer of gauze, stained with brown medicinal liquid. The scene was utterly gruesome. Wasn't it just about tying a rope? How could the injuries be this severe? I asked with deep concern. It's already like this. Can it still be saved? Song Yun swayed slightly before barely managing to steady himself. I swear to heaven, I truly had no intention of teasing Song Yun, but these words seemed to take on a different meaning when they reached his ears. The look in his eyes toward me also grew more resentful. Perhaps my exclamation of surprise was too loud, attracting the attention of the other students. Several young noblemen gathered around, pointing at Song Yun's private area. Ha 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 ha. Oh my. Song Yun, do you really have a hidden ailment? Song Yun is bare-bottomed and actually has no little bird. They've gone too far, completely disregarding the teachings the master has imparted to them daily. I spread my arms, shielding the bare-bottomed Song Yun. All of you, stop talking. Just then, I felt a strong push against my back from behind. When I came to my senses, I found myself lying on the ground, with a sharp, stinging pain radiating from my palm. I was trying to help you out of kindness, and this is how you repay me. I looked at Song Yun in confusion. Who asked for your help? He pulled up his pants, his eyes red as he roared. Meng Shui, you're nothing but a white lotus. Song Yun glared at me fiercely, as if he wanted to tear me apart. Meng Shui, just you wait. One day, you'd better not fall into my hands, or I'll make sure heaven and earth can't save you. In the blink of an eye, mist swirled around. A cold male voice drifted through the fog. Meng Shui, what do you plan to use to repay what you owe me? Song Yun leaned in close, forcefully pulling my hands above my head before bending down to bite my neck. It hurts. Ah. I woke up to find myself drenched in sweat. Instinctively, I reached for my neck. It was still intact. The maid, Xiao Tao, helped me sit up, tenderly wiping away my sweat with a silk handkerchief. Did the young lady have another nightmare? I nodded. For the past 10 years, whenever I wake from dreams at midnight, Song Yun always appears in my mind in various forms. His appearance changes as I grow older, sometimes fierce and violent, other times gentle and at ease. It's just that his piercing eyes still make my heart tremble with fear to this day. I had to drink an entire pot of cold wine to calm the trembling in my heart. Yet I never expected that enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. On my way out to buy supplies, I happened to encounter the Song family's army returning victorious to the capital. Back when Song Yun's wounds had not yet fully healed, he followed Lord Song to the northern frontier. I wonder what he looks like now. Is he the same as the one in my dreams? Out of curiosity, I squeezed into the crowd. At the forefront was a handsome young man with striking features. Though his skin was dark, it couldn't conceal the heroic spirit in his brows and eyes. He rode a fiery red steed, its iron hooves striking the blue bricks with crisp, ringing sounds. Several girls carrying bamboo baskets stood on tiptoe, their flushed cheeks half hidden behind silk handkerchiefs. At that moment, the young man on horseback merged with the Songyun from my dreams into one. I couldn't help myself, waving my hand and calling out softly to him, "Songyun." I thought my voice would be drowned out in the noisy crowd, but to my surprise, he actually stopped. "Yo!" As the horse raised its head, Songyun sat high on its back, staring down at me with an unblinking gaze. That sharp look was intense enough to seemingly want to strike me dead. It was just like the malicious ghost in my dreams that always entangled with me in every possible way. "Heh, how dare you address this general by name so casually?" The crowd surged around me, and I stood frozen in place, feeling only a faint bitterness in my heart. Songyun departed with the entourage, leaving behind a solitary silhouette. "Miss, are you okay?" Shout-out tugged at me several times before I finally snapped out of it. A suffocating weight pressed against the chest. Impossible to relieve. No matter how much of a brat I was as a kid, we still share the bond of growing up together. Is it really necessary? Or is it that I've changed so much as I grew up that he didn't even recognize me? Returned to the mansion. Mother prepared a table full of delicious dishes. An old friend I haven't seen in years is coming today. Let me go and get dressed up. In front of the mirror. For maids bustled about, holding shoe brocade jackets, skirts, and gold-dusted silk shawls. When I came out again, Songyun was already seated in the front hall with Mr. Song and his wife. The young man had taken off his battle robe and changed into a sky-blue straight gown. The slanting sunset glow filtered through the window lattice, casting a faint halo on his profile. An unexpected aura of aloof detachment unbefitting a scion of nobility. "What are you staring at? Greet them." Mother nudged my arm, and only then did I snap out of it, hastily bowing to them with a cupped hand salute. Songyun's blade-like lips curled slightly, imperceptibly. "Greetings, Uncle Song. Greetings, Auntie Song." When it was Songyun's turn, he didn't even lift his eyelids. Those slender fingers continued to leisurely fiddle with his jade pendant. Humph. What's with the act? The meal left me with mixed feelings. Songyun beside me, however, was completely at ease, as if Meng Manor were his own home. Father and Minister Song drank merrily together, while Mother and Madam Song, who were already close friends, had plenty of private matters to discuss among themselves. With the elders engaged in conversation, it was inappropriate for us juniors to remain present, so the task of entertaining Songyun fell upon my shoulders. The waning moon had already climbed onto the branches. On a cool summer night, the gentle breeze brought delightful comfort. I took him around the newly built courtyard of our home, chatting about the trivial matters of the Wang and Li families. Yet he only listened in silence. That's true. We're not yet close enough to speak freely, and considering that childhood misunderstanding, it's only natural for him to be somewhat guarded around me. But Father said our Meng family is one of propriety and etiquette, and we must always treat others with tolerance. I won't hold it against him. On the contrary, as I looked at his weathered appearance, so different from those pampered young masters of the capital, I actually felt a pang of heartache for him, so much so that I completely forgot about his earlier disrespect toward me on the street during the day. "Do you have any plans in the coming days?" This time, he did respond, raising an eyebrow at me. "What are you up to?" "I was thinking of taking you to the fabric shops in the capital to pick out some fashionable materials for your clothes. You're a hero now that you've returned to the capital, so there's no need to be so restrained anymore." Songyun scoffed. "Do you also like those fashionable things from the capital?" I didn't catch the sarcasm in his tone. "Of course. Luoshan Cloth Store has the most beautiful fabrics. Tongshin Gold Shop's jewelry is the most exquisite, and Fonlo's osmanthus wine. I just can't get enough of it. As soon as the words fell, the night wind swept bamboo shadows across the corridor, and Song Yun, walking ahead of me, suddenly stopped, causing me to bump into his back without warning. The sandalwood scent from his hair brushed past my nose, suddenly intensifying. Even through the thin fabric of his robe, I could feel the contours of the young man's back muscles, warm and firm like heated jade pressing against my forehead. When he abruptly turned around, the wind from his sleeves grazed my ear, and beneath the raven-black lashes in the moonlight gleamed eyes like stars. I staggered half a step back, gripping the corridor pillar, my throat suddenly tightening. Heavens above! Since when had he grown to be so strikingly handsome? How vulgar! Scoundrel! The word slipped coldly from Song Yun's thin lips, his Adam's apple rolling sharply in the moonlight. My lively heart was suddenly doused with icy water as I realized with a start that my earlier day's stare at his waist had been fully captured by those phoenix eyes. The shadow on the blue bricks abruptly advanced half a step. I hurriedly lowered my gaze, only to catch sight of the jade pendant's tassel swaying wildly at his waist. A faint scoff came from above. The corners of his lips curled slightly, as if quite satisfied, before he turned and continued walking forward. The surrounding sandalwood fragrance instantly dissipated, and my heart skipped a beat. By the way, I've been meaning to ask. I couldn't hold back my anger and aimed straight at his sore spot as his figure retreated into the distance. The figure ahead suddenly froze. After all these years, I wonder if that injury of yours has healed. If it hasn't, no worries. The capital has many renowned physicians. Surely a few prescriptions would do the trick. After speaking, the knot in my heart loosened considerably. I saw Song Yun's fingers, hanging by his side, suddenly clenched tightly as he turned around. Thank you for your concern, Miss Meng. Song Yun has already recovered. A cold smile played at the corners of his lips. It just hurts there whenever it's windy or rainy. Hurt. So it's not fully healed yet. That red string really is bad luck after all. As I was lost in thought, Song Yun leaned in close, his hair brushing against my burning earlobe. His husky voice, mingled with the scent of sandalwood, crept into the collar of my shirt. What's wrong? Are you planning to blow on it for me again? I was defeated, my ears burning with embarrassment. My throat felt as if scorched by flames, even the tip of my tongue turning dry. It must have been the chef's heavy hand tonight, the saltiness unsettling my heart. Yet Song Yun's brows and eyes were relaxed, humming a tune as he headed home. The breeze stirred by his robes brushed against my face, making me feel for a moment that this wind was even more scorching than the midsummer sun. In the following days, it drizzled constantly. I wonder if the overcast wind still pains him. Late at night, all was quiet. To escape the heat, I soaked in a wooden tub filled with petals, my dark hair floating on the water's surface. The warm, humid air enveloped me, feeling very comfortable. Just as I was about to fall asleep, a pair of large hands slowly caressed their way up from behind. Turning my head, it was actually Song Yun. It's you. My voice was all soft and sweet, letting his fingers wander over my skin. Sure way. He leaned close to my ear, breathing hot waves, like whispered words of coaxing, one after another. It's cloudy and rainy. It hurts. Can you blow on it for me? Oh my God. I broke out in a cold sweat, looking out the window. The sun was already high in the sky. Thankfully, it was just an incredibly enchanting dream. I pressed my hand against my pounding chest. What a sin. How could I be so thirsty? I really should have mother find me a husband. Coming to my senses, I got up to wash and dress. Xiao Tao came to deliver a message. saying that Song Yun had been waiting for me in the front hall for quite some time. Why is he waiting for me? Miss, have you forgotten? You yourself said a few days ago that you would accompany General Song to select fabric for his clothes. I nodded, immediately chose the gauze dress that best complemented my complexion, dressed up, and came to the front hall. I bowed slightly to him in greeting. Sorry to have kept you waiting. He won't. Song Yun frowned at me, dark circles under his eyes. His words laced with detachment, far less warm than a few days prior. Yet the moment his cool voice spoke, it sent shivers down my spine, just like the final words in last night's dream. Can you blow on it for me? In the carriage, Song Yun sat upright with perfect posture, while I leaned against one side. The sandalwood scent emanating from him wafted into my nose in waves, making my mouth dry and my throat parched. I could only rely on the breeze from the palm leaf fan to relieve the heat. Perhaps my constant fidgeting with the fan annoyed him, holding his breath and clenching his fists. He finally spoke coldly. Is it so unbearable to be with me? Isn't it unbearable? The carriage is so small, and you still have to squeeze in. Besides, the man is unmarried. The woman is unwed. It's improper for us to share a carriage in the first place. If other gentlemen were to see this, wouldn't it ruin my reputation? How am I supposed to get married then? No sooner had the words left his mouth than he snatched the palm leaf fan from my hand. Humph. You're worried about a bad reputation. Seems to me you're quite adept at ruining others' reputations. Song Yun really holds a grudge. It's been 10 years. Even an iron rod should have been ground down to a needle by now. I'm afraid his heart is as small as a red bean. Father always said that as the legitimate daughter of an etiquette-oriented family, I should be magnanimous. I didn't argue with Song Yun and instead focused on selecting clothes for him at the fabric shop. But when it came time for measurements, he threw another tantrum. Song Yun complained that the shop assistants and the manager were being rude, staring at me openly. Just yesterday, your mother was boasting to mine about your needlework skills. You measure me. How can this be? You're not my husband. Why should I? Before she could finish her words, Song Yun sighed softly at me. Whenever it's cloudy or rainy, the pain always gets worse. Would you help me? I hurriedly covered his mouth with a handkerchief. I'll measure you already. Why keep bringing that up? I angrily unfurled the measuring tape, only to see Song Yun smiling smugly. He stretched out his arms and stood straight, looking completely unruffled. Then I'll trouble Miss Meng for this. He deliberately drew out his tone, and as he saw me holding the measuring tape with my fingertips drawing near, he suddenly pushed his chest forward half an inch. Blushing, I gestured to measure Song Yun's shoulders with my hands. When my fingertips touched the warmth through the brocade fabric, that flustered feeling in my chest surfaced once again. Now he stands half a head taller than my father, with such broad shoulders. When I wrapped the measuring tape around his chest, I had to tiptoe just to barely reach the other end. And those hands, covered in thick calluses. I couldn't resist rubbing my hand against his for comparison. So much larger. As the gesture reached the cuff, a flash of red peeked out from the tight Marshall sleeve. What's this? I was about to pull it. Song Yun abruptly withdrew his hand, the tips of his ears turning red, his Adam's apple bobbing rapidly beneath the neck guard. Men and women should not touch when giving and receiving. TSK. I deliberately flicked the measuring tape with a snap. Now you know about not touching when giving and receiving. Why didn't you say anything when I was measuring your clothes earlier? He gazed at me with such profound depth in his eyes that I fell silent. In the twilight, tavern banners fluttered like clouds, and the shouts of waiters, mingled with the aroma of wine, drifted along Vermilion Bird Street. I accompanied him to a few more shops before finally stopping to rest at Fan Tower. Before I could speak, He then ordered 3 servings of osmanthus wine, osmanthus cakes, and milk skin topped with osmanthus sugar from the waiter. Xiao Tao nudged my hand, gave me a meaningful look, and watched as Song Yun pushed the osmanthus wine in front of me. This General Song still has a thoughtful side. I pursed my lips, secretly delighted. Eating others' food makes your mouth soft. Taking others' gifts makes your hand short. This made me let my guard down around Song Yun a little more. My mother mentioned you haven't discussed marriage yet. Is it because no one else wants you? The honeyed wine in my mouth suddenly lost its sweetness. Humph. General Song wouldn't know about this. From Yun Master Zhang of the Shangshu family to Yun Master Wang of the Vice Minister of Personnel, countless gentlemen have sent invitations and letters to our Yun lady, especially that Yun Master Li from the medical family. He's practically turned into a gazing-at-wife stone waiting for her. It's just that our Yun lady has high standards and doesn't fancy any of them. I smiled exaggeratedly. Ah, don't bother telling him so much. He just got back. How would he know how popular I am in the capital? Xiao Tao helped me score a point in front of Song Yun, so I smiled and popped a candied fruit into her mouth. Song Yun glanced at me, took a sip of tea, and then set the cup down again. Is it because you don't like it? Or is your heart already taken? Heart already taken. I had never thought about this question before. Looking up into Song Yun's deep phoenix eyes, my recently calmed heart began pounding wildly again. I must be coming down with something. What nonsense. To cover my fluster, my wretched mouth blurted out before I could stop it. You've been talking about me all this time. Why haven't you gotten engaged yet? Is it because you can't? Let me tell you, if you're sick, you should get treated. Avoiding the doctor out of fear is unwise. The once bustling fan tower suddenly fell into complete silence. The diners, the waiter, and even the accountant clicking away on his abacus, without exception, all turned their gaze toward us. That fine celadon cup shattered into pieces in Song Yun's hands just like that. Is it too late if I try to cover for you now? Shut up. The carriage stopped in front of the mansion. As I stepped down, I lost my balance, and Song Yun caught me with one hand, lifting me down. The sandalwood scent on him was like a spark that could start a prairie fire. In an instant, I actually wished I could lean on him like this for the rest of my life. Before I could even utter the words, "Thank you," he shattered my reverie. Song Yun pushed me aside, held his breath, and frowned. This osmanthus is overwhelming. Use less of it in the future. It's making me feel suffocated. He hurriedly turned and left, as if I might devour him whole the next moment. Is this young master of the Song family perhaps a clueless fool who doesn't understand romance? Xiaotao's sharp remark made me feel much better. Watching Song Yun's aloof figure recede into the distance, an indescribable emotion swirled and rose within. Return to the manor. This Song Yun truly is a complete fool. For over half a month, I hadn't seen Song Yun again. I then sent Xiao Tao to deliver the blue robe I had personally made to the Song residence. When Xiao Tao returned, I was still preoccupied with my thoughts. "Miss, the clothes have been delivered," she reported. However, General Song isn't here. I asked his servant, who said that military camp affairs have been busy recently, so he's been staying at the camp these days. I felt a bit disappointed, but he'll be back in a few days. Xiao Tao mimicked the servant's manner, pinching her throat and saying, "General Song specifically mentioned that the osmanthus wine at Fanlu is to his taste, and he'll invite you to have some together when he returns." Blushing, I cursed. "You little rascal. Xiao Tao, couldn't you have said everything at once? And who asked you to go asking around with your big mouth? How shameless." Xiao Tao looked at me with an expression that said she understood everything. Who is it again that couldn't bear to be apart for even a day? Now even my favorite osmanthus cake is hard to swallow. Alas. This heartburn truly burns fiercely. And who knows when it will end? The third watch sounds. The candle flame flickered out. Why is it you? I was deep in slumber when suddenly awakened. Song Yun held me close, and amidst our intimate whispers, he removed my final layer of defense. Why do you always laugh at me? You always say I can't do it. This. Carried an undeniable pressure. I completely collapsed beneath him. Her eyes shimmered with a playful glint. Song Yun chuckled by my ear. Whether it works or not, we won't know until we try. Let's try. I woke up to find the day already bright. And looking around, I was still in my boudoir. It was just another dream. Yet my body ached unbearably. I hadn't even gotten out of bed yet. Xiaotao came tumbling in head over heels. What's got you so flustered? The Li family from the medical trade brought 7 or 8 redwood chests and placed them in our courtyard, saying they've come to propose marriage to our young lady. By the time I reached the main hall, the Li family had already left, with father and mother both wearing stern expressions. Seeing me approach, mother took my hand. Today, young Master Li didn't come with the same courtesy as before. Now that his sister has won the new emperor's favor and been promoted 3 ranks in a row, her status is almost on par with the empress. What should we do? Bang! Father smashed the teacup. That Li family is nothing but a fence-sitter, leaning whichever way the wind blows. Now the whole family is climbing up by relying on women. Truly despicable. He hasn't even taken a proper wife yet, but already has a house full of concubines. How enviable. Oh no. How infuriating for this old man. Miss Wei has rejected that Li boy's advances so many times. Yet he still dares to openly propose marriage with such audacity. His intentions are utterly despicable. After venting his anger, father turned to me and said, "Don't worry. You're my only child after all. I'll make sure you find someone you're truly happy with. If there's no one suitable, you can stay at home forever. I'll take care of you." But just a few days later, mother was summoned to the palace by the newly appointed consort Li. When she returned, her face was ashen. Between the lines, consort Li's message was clear. Whether I wanted to or not, I had to marry. The Li family of medicine was originally a noble and upright lineage, but they somehow produced a wastrel like Li Jiarong, perhaps because they had him in their later years. The elderly Li couple doted on him excessively, spoiling him into a lawless character. As for me, the tangled fate between us is even more inexplicable. Children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. Mother, don't worry. Xiaotao, prepare the carriage. We're going to the military camp. Dressed in a green robe, I stood by the military camp, watching Song Yun arrive covered in dust. Suddenly, the emptiness in my heart was filled. What's the urgent matter that called me out here? The Li family has proposed marriage to my family. A flicker of surprise crossed Song Yun's face, but it vanished almost instantly as he frowned and spoke coldly. Congratulations. Then, I took a step forward, closing the distance between us. I refused to marry. He stared at me, as if probing for something. Now that the imperial concubine is pressuring them, my parents are so worried their hair has turned white. I don't want to spend my life with someone I don't like, nor do I want my parents to worry about me. Song Yun, you have a hidden ailment. Sooner or later, other women will find fault with you. Why not just marry me instead? Song Yun lowered his head in silence for a moment. Meng Shuwei, do you realize what you're saying? Summoning my courage, I took his cold hand and said earnestly, marriage is inevitable. If I must marry someone, I'd rather it be you. Song Yun. Our mothers were originally close friends since childhood, and Aunt Song certainly wouldn't let me suffer. Moreover, if I accompany you to cure your hidden ailment and then help you take a few concubines, where else could you find such a magnanimous wife as me? By then, when you're surrounded by children and grandchildren, you'll have to thank me. Song Yun withdrew his hand and snorted coldly. You're really kind-hearted, thinking of everything for me. So, do you agree then? I was waiting for his answer, but he just sighed. Let me think about it. What are you thinking about? Xiao Tao could no longer hold back and pulled me behind her. My young lady was forced into marriage by the Li family, and it all comes down to you. Song Yun looked at Xiao Tao, his tone full of doubt. What does that have to do with me? How is this none of your business? Ever since you went to the northern frontier, our young lady has been releasing lotus lanterns year after year, wishing only for your safety and well-being. If it weren't for that scoundrel from the Li family taking a fancy to our young lady while she was releasing lanterns for you last year, none of this would have happened now. Xiaodao's eloquent words left Song Yun utterly defenseless. You're welcome to visit our family's prayer room. The scripture books piled beneath the altar are nearly overflowing, all painstakingly copied by our young lady stroke by stroke for you. The young lady cares for you so deeply, yet you've been nothing but cold to her since your return. With that, Xiao Tao grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the carriage. Young lady, don't waste words on him. At worst, we'll become nuns together. I'll stay by your side no matter what. Song Yun stood there in a daze, lost in thought. The silver armor under the moonlight made him look even more dashing. Damn it. At a time like this, why am I still thinking about this? Truly, food and lust are human nature. The grievances in my heart were hard to suppress, and soon my vision blurred with tears. Even after returning to my room, the tears still wouldn't stop. In the early morning, I rubbed my swollen, aching eyes, wallowing in self-pity. Young lady, Xiaodao's cry, wrapped in the chill of early autumn, startled the newly nested swallows under the eaves. His Majesty has decreed to arrange a marriage between you and General Song. What? Without bothering to dress up, I lifted my skirt and rushed to the main hall. Madame Song sat in the seat of honor, discussing with my mother the date for the betrothal gifts. Song Yun obediently sat on the chair nearby. The sound of beaded curtains rustling reached his ears. His fingers gripping the celadone teacup suddenly tightened, and his Adam's apple bobbed slightly with a swallow. Those usually sharp phoenix eyes turned toward him. Heavens above! My dear child, how could you come out dressed like this? Mother hastily stood up to shield my undergarment-clad body. Madame Song lowered her head to sip tea, smiling without a word. Song Yun stared straight at me without any reservation. Is this imperial marriage truly set in stone? I looked at Song Yun and asked. He nodded, a hint of shyness in his gaze, then turned his head away and no longer looked at me. After they left, my mother held me to comfort me. I privately inquired with Madame Song. Song Yun's hidden ailment must have been cured long ago. It was only like that back then because it was tied too tightly. Don't worry. Madame Song and I have promised that once you're married into their family, she will cherish you as her own daughter. Then you'll have two mothers. Mother went on to say many more things to me, but my mind was still stuck on the thought. Song Yun's hidden ailment must have been cured long ago. Was it really cured? No one dared to disobey His Majesty's decree. The Li family sent someone to sheepishly retrieve the betrothal gift boxes. Xiao Tao stood at the door, cracking melon seeds. You filthy-hearted scum, daring to bring such trash into our Ming family. Ugh. Perhaps to demonstrate their regard for me. Within a month, the Song family prepared over 200 boxes of betrothal gifts, parading them grandly through the capital before finally arriving at the Meng residence's gate. inside and outside the courtyard of the mansion. Gifts were piled so densely that one could hardly take a step. Mother held my hand as we carefully took stock. These many gifts don't seem to have been prepared in a single day. It looks like they've been gathering them for a long time. The Song family has put their heart into this. I carefully counted the boxes placed at the very front. Fabrics from Luoshan Cloth Shop. Jewelry from Tongshin Gold Store. 2 full chests. All in the latest styles. I agreed with Mother's words. Sonyun is truly thoughtful. On the wedding day, Mother stuffed 3 romance novels into my bridal vanity case. You wouldn't read them when I usually told you to. Now it's time to cram at the last minute. Then she patiently reminded me again. Even if Songyun really can't perform, don't make a fuss about it. I have some potency-enhancing pills here. If that still doesn't work, endure the first couple of years. Once the scrutiny dies down, we'll discuss a peaceful separation with his family. Mother will definitely find you someone strong and healthy when the time comes. I forced a bitter smile. You really are my birth mother. On their wedding night, Songyun was still toasting and drinking at the wedding banquet. I secretly flipped through those erotic picture books in the room. Wow. All the poses in these books are so difficult. I can't learn them at all. While I was buried in studying them. What are you looking at? So engrossed. Songyun's slightly calloused fingertips brushed over my earlobe. The scent of sandalwood mixed with alcohol suddenly enveloping me. I looked up in a fluster, meeting his slightly intoxicated phoenix eyes. With our noses almost touching and the rustling sound of fabric rubbing, I nearly forgot to breathe. He suddenly let out a light chuckle. Before I could hide the book, he had already made the first move. What's so interesting? He snatched the book right out of my hands. He had barely flipped through a couple of pages before his face turned red. Just empty talk on paper. I'll teach you myself. My dear. The world spun around. He lifted me up and gently laid me on the bed, as if I were some treasured possession of his. Today he wore wedding robes. Not like martial sleeves rolled up at the wrists. That old red string was wrapped several times around his wrist. Songyun pressed down on me, his eyes burning with wildfire. This is... I gazed at the red string. My words left unfinished. The remaining words were crushed between his lips and teeth. My lady. The debt from teaching me how to tie the string back then. It's time to repay it now. All of this was completely different from what I had dreamed. In the dream, Songyun was devoid of any warmth. But now, his entire body was burning hot. I clung to his sweat-drenched back, softly moaning amidst the tinkling of swaying bead curtains. Meng Shui, I told you, one day, you'd better not fall into my hands, or I'll make sure heaven and earth can't save you. Now I understand. Songyun was truly recovered, and doing very well indeed. After marrying Songyun, I learned what it means to be unrestrained. After consummating the marriage, he developed a taste for it. I refused him very seriously. You use it like this all day. Aren't you afraid it'll break? Will it wear the skin off? Songyun wore a helpless expression. Yet every day he would come home with some new way to bring me nice things, then coax me into bed. But barely 3 months after the wedding, he began to furrow his brow, overwhelmed with official duties. So you're giving up again so soon? I felt a little disappointed inside. I simply spent the whole day curled up by my mother-in-law's side. Don't bother trying to figure out a man's mind. It's better to ask directly than to guess. Matters of the heart. The worst is to hesitate, to not be free, to not be unrestrained, to not be simple, to not be happy. I nodded. These words seemed familiar, as if I'd heard them somewhere before. That very night, I used the excuse of delivering late-night snacks to visit Songyun at the military camp. Why are you here? Father-in-law and you have been so busy lately. Hardly ever coming home. Mother-in-law was worried, so she asked me to prepare some snacks. Father-in-law took the food.
Don't overthink it. We've seen this kind of thing many times. Sonyan left a team of death guards for us to ensure our safety. Let's just wait for the outcome with peace of mind. You should have faith in your husband. That night, riots broke out in the city streets. The mother-in-law called the guards to surround the courtyard walls and poured a line of oil at the base, ready to be set aflame. My mother-in-law raised her twin swords to shield me, waiting for the attackers to come. Soon after, outside the house, the orderly sound of horse hooves was followed by rough shouts. General Song's orders. Concerned for the safety of the Song family's elderly madam and young madam, we were sent to provide protection. Please open the door and let us in. There must be some trickery in this, my mother-in-law whispered in my ear. I nodded and replied loudly, everything is fine at home. There's no need for my husband to worry. Then came a contemptuous voice. It was that good-for-nothing from the Lee family. What's the point of wasting words with them? Listen up. Members of the Song family. Open the door now, and I might still leave your corpses intact when I come in. Meng Shui. How I've longed for you. Hurry up and open the door. Let me have some fun with you for a few days. I'm still. Ha. A muffled thud came from outside the door. Thud. A red firework bloomed in the night sky. Success. The mother-in-law rushed forward excitedly and opened the mansion gate. The corpse of the Lee family's profligate son lay sprawled across the entrance. Indeed, the ancients did not deceive me. Talk less. Die faster. That's the truth. A drop of blood slid from Song Yun's spear tip. Those who insult my wife deserve death. Song Yun's face remained cold, but upon seeing me, a trace of tenderness flickered in his eyes. Rushed up and hugged me tightly. Hurry up and separate. The mother-in-law shouted from the side. Don't harm the child in the womb. The bloody aura from the armor made my head spin. I landed heavily in Song Yun's embrace. When I woke again, Song Yun was sound asleep beside me. He was holding my hand. The red string was still securely tied around his wrist. 3 days later, the remnants were beheaded. Using family matters as justification, the emperor spared the Grand Empress Dowager's life and imprisoned her in the Deer Garden. And the once arrogant consort Li, upon learning that His Majesty had not been poisoned and that their love affair was merely a farce, took her own life. The strategies of an emperor's heart are beyond our comprehension. After 10 months of pregnancy, the burden was finally lifted. Looking at the wrinkled little creature in my arms, I was filled with dismay. But my mother-in-law and mother both said the child looked like me and Song Yun. After the confinement period, I felt much better and thought of making a little garment for the baby. I searched around but found neither scissors nor thread in the room. She called for Xiao Dao, who was covering her mouth to stifle laughter. You'll have to ask the young master about that. At this moment, Song Yun was lifting the child high in the air. Son, don't worry. Daddy will definitely protect your little birdie this time. The little bundle in his arms babbled incoherently. Happiness beyond words. Extra. After Song Yun proposed marriage, he came by the Buddhist hall in my mansion for a visit. Didn't you say you've copied many scriptures for me over these years? He pointed at the empty shrine. Didn't you say they were piled up until there was no more space? I awkwardly glanced at Xiao Dao, frantically signaling with my eyes. What to do? What to do? I told you not to brag. And now look what happened. How are we going to fix this? Xiao Dao looked confident and reassured me with her eyes. Don't worry. I've got this. Ahem. She cleared her throat without changing her expression. Reply to General Song. Everything has been put away by the madam. The weather is dry. Be careful with the candles. Oh. Song Yun raised an eyebrow and looked at me. Is that so? I nodded vigorously. He placed his hand on my head and ruffled my hair a few times. Excellent. Please deliver these Buddhist scriptures to my residence tomorrow. Mother will be deeply moved to know you treat me with such sincerity. Mother brought me to visit Madame Song. Yes. Tomorrow. Late at night. All was quiet. Yet my courtyard was brightly lit. Miss. Your writing is so slow. Miss. This character is so ugly. Miss. How can you draw these strokes like this? I wielded my brush with a flourish. Meng Xiaotao. If you're so good, you do it. She ate the sweet orange, not forgetting to stuff a segment into my mouth. No. 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 Such matters must be done personally to show sincerity. I watched the sky grow faintly bright, filled with a faint sense of death. Damn it. Dead hand. Can you be any slower?